I've never seen so many stolen cars.
It's an epidemic of theft in America.
It's so frustrating.
Thefts have gone up dramatically.
With nearly 2 cars stolen every minute.
I just started bawling right then and there.
They really hurt families.
Now, CBS News investigates the causes behind the crime wave. From the thieves' newest high-tech tricks
How quickly could you steal a car?
In about a minute or less.
to the organized crime rings shipping our stolen cars overseas.
We have a nice BMW in here.
And despite billions of dollars spent on policing,
Couldn't believe the number of stolen autos that I was looking at.
we team up with CBS stations around the country to expose how most car thefts in America are going unsolved.
These guys are gonna keep going and stealing more cars. They're probably not gonna get caught.
Totally unacceptable.
And the law enforcement resources are generally understaffed.
We've just given up.
We have not given up in any sense.
There's no repercussions for their actions.
Shots fired.
They'll just keep stealing cars until they do a more horrible crime.
I'm CBS News consumer correspondent Ash-har Quraishi. In recent months, we've been hearing from our CBS stations around the country that car thefts are on the rise. So our team of investigators set out to see what the data would reveal. We learned that thieves stole more than 1 million vehicles in 2022, a 7% spike from the year before. And what's more alarming, we learned most thieves are getting away with it, making car theft America's unsolved crime.
There's no plates on it. It's probably 100% stolen.
When he's not picking up passengers, rideshare driver Matt Nallette patrols the streets of Chicago, hunting for stolen cars.
So what are the telltale signs that you find that indicate a car is stolen?
And it may have a broken back window, you never know. It may have something that looks like it's suspicious.
Nallette checks a public Chicago police website with license plates and VINs to see if the cars he finds have been reported stolen.
It might be a fresh steal, but I'm still gonna call 911 anyway.
So we've only been out for a few minutes with Matt, and we've already rolled up on this Hyundai. Looks like the back passenger side window is smashed out.
Hello?
Hello, 911.
Yeah, how you doing? There's gonna be a stolen Hyundai over here on the corner of Lemoyne and Cicero.
In the last 3 years, Nallette says his Facebook group of 31,000 watchers have helped recover more than 4,500 stolen cars like this one.
You don't leave till somebody gets here.
Yeah, I don't.
Why not?
Because it'll disappear. How you doing, brother?
Matt Nallette says he sympathizes with the officers he meets on the street.
Well, thanks for coming.
A lot of people are gonna see what you're doing and they say, why can't the police do this?
They're too busy.
When did you find out it was stolen?
2 days after I had it.
The Infiniti Lisa Nisko bought online
I mean, it's a beautiful car.
was flagged as stolen when she tried to register it. One of 15,000 cars reported stolen in New York City last year.
But you still have the keys to the car?
Yeah, I
You
have
could drive it technically, but you're not allowed to.
No, they pinged it as stolen. We were told by the detectives not to drive it anywhere because if they were to ping it, we would get arrested.
It's been sitting in her driveway for more than a year.
So
They
you
cannot
own a
take it.
stolen car that you
own it.
can't drive.
Correct.
NYPD tells us the investigation remains active and ongoing. But we found statistically it's unlikely her case will ever be solved. A CBS News analysis of police data from more than a dozen U.S. cities found that last year police solved at best 1 in 5 auto theft cases.
These are property crimes, and the law enforcement resources are generally understaffed. We've heard that over and over again.
The frustration is immense.
We spoke to Tom Dart, sheriff of Cook County, Illinois.
Do you think police departments have just given up on catching car thieves?
It's not what I've seen.
But the numbers show last year Chicago police solved 4% of auto thefts.
Los Angeles 7, New York 14, Baltimore 6, Denver 7. Single-digit solve rates when it comes to car thefts.
That's insane. 4%, 7%. No, I mean, that doesn't work under anyone's estimation. And no one should accept that. So the notion that, we don't have time for that, this is no different than they need a gun to commit the shooting, they need the car to commit. If they don't have the car, they can't go do that drive-by.
Last year, the sheriff introduced this windshield sticker as a potential solution. It means you've pre-authorized your car maker to release your private GPS data to law enforcement if your car is reported stolen.
We're able to track the car immediately.
He thinks the sticker also serves as a deterrent, though only a small fraction of the county has signed up.
This is not some property crime. This is an instrument for major crimes that are killing and shooting and hurting people.
There's no repercussions for their actions as well.
With relatively few arrests,
They'll just keep stealing cars, stealing cars, stealing cars.
Matt Nolet says
That's it.
there's no real deterrent.
Until they do a more horrible crime.
Every day across this country, thousands of cars are stolen from parking spots, driveways, and garages. And police admit when it comes to solving these crimes, they're struggling. Our CBS reporters in cities around the nation decided to find out why and to hold the agencies responsible for protecting you accountable.
Hey, stop! No. Hey, never shoot her! Shots fired,
What started as a traffic stop of a stolen SUV
Get cover!
quickly turned into a gunfight between the driver and Dallas police officers. Earlier this year, a man driving a stolen rental truck led police on a dangerous chase down the Dallas North Tollway, slamming into more than a dozen other vehicles while trying to get away. These are just two examples of car thieves caught in the act, when in reality, most of these thieves get away. Investigative reporter Ginger Allen found last year, Dallas police only solved 4.5% of their car theft cases.
95% unsolved. What's your reaction to that?
That wouldn't surprise me.
Is DPD responding enough to this problem?
Well, I would say we're responding to the problem. We may not be responding fast enough. The initial interaction that a victim has with a police officer to take the report, we need to increase that.
We were seeing just numbers that we have not experienced.
In Denver, where police made arrests in about 7% of cases last year,
It's a hard crime to prove.
Police Lieutenant Ryan Harris told CBS reporter Karen Morfitt
Our clearance rate is not where we want it to be,
his department has fallen short.
especially when we get cars that are unoccupied recoveries. There's a lot of investigative challenges with that. We're at the beginning of an increase.
Police here hope to turn the trend around using a tracking program, a dedicated auto theft team, and help from neighboring departments.
That vehicle comes to Castle Rock.
Like the southern suburb of Castle Rock.
We're able to identify the fact that it's a stolen vehicle.
Where officers use license plate readers.
That information is given to our dispatchers live.
To catch thieves in stolen cars.
It is also sent out to the police officers in their vehicles live.
In Sacramento, at least 8 out of 10 cars are found, and police make arrests in more than 13% of cases. More than in a dozen other cities CBS News looked at.
We're looking at cameras that the police department has put up throughout the city.
Investigative reporter Julie Watts visited the department's real-time crime center,
42 in progress.
where police monitor license plate readers, alerting them when a stolen car is on the move instantaneously.
Once we get the alert, detectives can go back and review the video and see the path of travel of their suspects.
In the state's largest city, investigative reporter Ross Palumbo found tens of thousands of unsolved car thefts.
Our analysis, in fact, of more than 4 years of Los Angeles data shows that the number of thefts has jumped into overdrive. From nearly 16,000 in 2019 to more than 21,000 in 2020, to more than 24,000 in 2021, to more than 25,500 in 2022. To put that last year into perspective, that total number of vehicles is nearly double the amount that can fit in here into Dodger Stadium when this lot is completely full.
We found the percentage of cases cleared or solved from 2019 through September of this year has fallen from 11% down to 6%. Arrests have fallen from 7% down to 5%, lower than 4 major cities we sampled, including San Francisco. And they're not just numbers, but a mind-numbing reality for Aldo Valle.
The police, they were honest. They're like, it's very likely that we're not gonna find it.
The police told you that?
Yes.
Were you shocked?
I was like, what? Am I gonna go find the truck myself?
The Valle family was praying in church when thieves spotlighted their Tacoma truck, stealing it from right outside their home.
Honestly, I'm shocked. You know the pain that you feel, and then you think, these many people are going through the same thing that I am around my community.
Have you just given up? We have not given up in any sense.
It's not an epidemic.
It's not an epidemic.
Is it a crisis?
It's not. It's a significant concern.
His larger concern is actually with the contributing factors of zero bail, lower prosecutions, fewer real consequences, and diminishing resources. When auto theft started to rise in 2019, he had more than 10,000 officers. Today, LAPD is down to 9,000. Civilian staff has also dropped from 3,300 to 2,600.
We've lost hundreds of people. Right, 1,000 personnel.
But despite those dramatic declines, the chief insists there are some measurable gains.
You don't think it's getting worse?
I think right now it's getting better than it was last year. This year we are seeing about a 5% reduction from last year's numbers, but we're still in excess of 60% higher in auto thefts today than we were in 2019.
One thing we've discovered while investigating America's unsolved crimes is that the computerized systems that make unlocking and starting your vehicle so convenient are also making it easier targets for car thieves. You've heard of carjacking? Well, now criminals are becoming experts in car hacking.
If you saw these guys walking up to your front door, you probably wouldn't know what to make of it. These car thieves are using sophisticated equipment to steal the signal from a key fob inside the house. Less than 30 seconds after launching what's known as a relay attack, the criminals and that car in the driveway are gone.
This is where it was stolen from?
Yep, it was right out front, and then they pulled up after hours and pulled it off.
In car owner Ivy Stryker's case, thieves used a tablet to hack into his Dodge Charger by breaching the onboard diagnostic system, caught on security camera.
They pulled up in another Charger. They linked out, got in. They were in there for about 15 minutes. And then after that, you see a couple quick flashes like they're trying to break into the dashboard.
What ended up happening to Ivy's Dodge Charger is pretty wild. We'll get back to that in a moment.
But if you pay attention to the screen right there, you're gonna see a key programmer light up, which is basically looks like a tablet.
Steve Lobello is a car security specialist just outside of Chicago. He focuses on countering keyless entry car hacking.
Most recent trends that we've seen relay attacks, and probably the most common one that I do see is actual key programmers that you can just plug into the vehicle's diagnostic port or onto the CAN bus network.
And what's a CAN bus network?
Basically, think of it as the nervous center in the vehicle where everything has to process through.
And so once you get access to the CAN bus network, you can control the car.
You can pretty much do things such as delete keys, program new keys, and just basically speak to the vehicle.
Exploiting some of these vulnerabilities, how quickly could you steal a car?
If it was this Dodge, in about a minute or less.
Lobello showed us just how quickly thieves are able to hack in using a tablet.
Okay, it's asking me to put the key next to the console. Press the unlock button. Once I do that, it should be good.
It works.
That fast.
Last summer, Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts sent letters to 17 car makers urging them to, quote, take all necessary steps to ensure that keyless entry systems, once a security innovation that deterred thieves, do not become a security liability for them to exploit. The senator also asked them for data on the number of their cars that are stolen and how. We reached out to all of them as well. Only 5 responded, and none could provide that information.
I think manufacturers have known about the vulnerability for some years.
After decades as a detective, Clive Wayne is now with Tracker, a company that specializes in recovering stolen cars in the UK.
How important is it to track the method by which car thieves are stealing cars? That seems to be something that's lacking, at least here in the United States.
I think it's incredibly important because unless the industry has a knowledge of how vehicles are being compromised, then nothing's going to be done about it.
Tracker UK's numbers show that keyless car theft reached an all-time high in July, accounting for 98% of all the stolen cars they recovered that month.
Are manufacturers doing enough to protect cars from this type of theft?
I don't think so, and I think a lot of them probably just aren't aware how easy these cars are to be stolen in the first place.
Steve Labello offers his customers this solution: an aftermarket security system that requires you to enter a pre-programmed code using existing factory buttons in the vehicle to authorize it to start. Without that secondary authentication, the car won't go anywhere. So you're preventing them from being able to program new keys.
That's correct.
And also start the car with just a key.
That's correct.
He installed that system on Ivy's car.
Hit it, right? Code. Beeps twice. Now you can turn it on.
It's the reason the thieves couldn't get it started. As you can see, they had to push it away using their getaway car. 17 miles later, they gave up and ditched it. Stellantis, which makes the Dodge Charger, tells us its vehicles meet all federal and industry security standards. And the company urges drivers to take due care in securing their vehicles.
One way you can keep your key fob safe right away: when you're at home, store it in a metal box away from the front door to block the signal. Another good option is an old-fashioned anti-theft tool, like a steering wheel lock. It'll serve as a physical deterrent to the new generation of car thieves who'd rather hack into your car than use a hacksaw. One question we had while investigating America's unsolved crime: where are all these cars going? Our CBS News investigation reveals more and more are being trafficked out of the country, never to be recovered again.
280 million cars, trucks, and SUVs drive America's roads. And every day, more than 2,500 disappear.
When you think about stolen cars, local police are obviously the ones looking for them, right? When we started asking where are all these cars going, we discovered that more and more stolen cars are slipping out of their reach and into the hands of international criminals. So we're headed to the Port Authority in New Jersey. We're going to meet up with Customs, who are really working the front line of trying to stop stolen vehicles from leaving the country.
Here, tens of thousands of shipping containers leave the country every day. Hidden inside,
here we have a Porsche.
Vehicles stolen from cities all over America, headed overseas.
They keep busy. It's busier now. This is probably one of the busiest years this year.
One of the busiest
Yeah,
years?
one of the busiest.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection let us tag along with Officer Dean Panzerino, whose job it is to find and stop stolen cars from leaving the port.
What kinds of cars are you seeing normally that are being put into these containers and shipped off?
Mostly high-end vehicles, Land Rovers, Mercedes, BMWs. Every once in a while you get a Bentley, Rolls Royce.
There was something about this container headed to Africa that aroused his suspicions. His hunch was right.
So this is not the car that was supposed to be in here?
No.
It's a Maserati.
Yeah, this is a nice hit.
It's a nice hit.
Hidden behind that Maserati?
We have a nice BMW in here. X8. And that's a Ford, probably an Explorer.
The stolen cargo was on its way to the port in Algeciras, Spain, before its final destination, West Africa. It's the same port where police in Spain intercepted 24 stolen luxury vehicles from the U.S. earlier this year, valued at more than $2 million.
They're being shipped overseas. We know that. We work with U.S. Customs and Border Protection every day. We work cases with them. We know they're going to West Africa and to the Middle East. We know that, fact. We also know they're going to the south side of the border. They also are going to Mexico.
They're just driving right through U.S. Customs and Border Protection checkpoints, with government license plate readers installed to record every single one. Those readers last year recorded more than 2,800 stolen cars driven into Mexico from California, Arizona, and Texas. Only 144 were seized, according to Customs and Border Protection.
I think that's absolutely disgusting.
Chris Clark's SUV was stolen from outside his Los Angeles apartment while he slept. By the time he woke up, it was already in Mexico. He tracked it down using GPS.
I Googled repossession Mexico.
He and the repo company led Mexican police to the thief and the stolen car. He says it was much easier for the thief to get the stolen SUV out of the U.S. than it was for him to get it back in.
So I was coming into the U.S. border, and I told the gentleman what had happened, and he didn't believe me.
After he snapped this picture as he approached the border, he was arrested for driving a vehicle that was reported stolen, his own.
I was detained for about 5 hours. That was probably a little bit eye-opening for me.
Responsible for some stolen cars leaving the country? Organized crime.
The cartels are constantly looking for vehicles that can be used and be militarized in Mexico.
Mark Lipa showed us video investigators obtained of cartel operatives stealing an SUV in the middle of the night.
This particular organization, this particular cell, stole over 600 vehicles and exported them into Mexico.
Most of those cars, like this Jeep in Texas, stolen while the owners slept.
They weren't even reported stolen, so they could get across without any issue.
Exactly.
These are stolen vehicles, but there aren't the resources to go after these cars.
That becomes a challenge because you have to have a law enforcement entity in between that border crossing that's able to interdict it on a traffic stop. Because the cars are moving. Generally, they're moving. They're not stopped for inspection. They hit the license plate reader from Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, but the vehicle's still moving.
CBP did tell us they periodically conduct targeted checks, but they won't pursue stolen cars into Mexico because of jurisdictional limitations. Back at the port in Newark, Dean Panzerino's team leads the nation in stolen car seizures at seaports. They've recovered 288 since October. But considering the millions of containers that set sail from here every year, there's only so much this team can do.
Work it so hard during the day. When I leave here at night, in my mind, I got the stolen cars and nothing got past me. I know that ain't true, but that's how I feel.
The National Insurance Crime Bureau says it recovered more than 2,000 stolen vehicles that had been trafficked to foreign countries last year. If your car is stolen and you figure out where it is using GPS, they say you should call police and not try to go get it yourself. We've been telling you about the skyrocketing number of car thefts in America, crimes that for the most part are going unsolved. In most of these cases, people only learn that they've become victims when they get to their parking spot and their car is gone. But what about those harrowing incidents when a thief goes for the car while you're still inside it? The stories make big headlines, but what really is your risk of being carjacked? Tom Hansen took a look at the data.
What you're about to see is an attempted carjacking. Out of nowhere, a person jumped into the street wielding a knife, appearing to attempt a carjacking. The suspect fled the scene, leading Seattle police on a chase into a wasp's nest.
All right.
On the other side of the country, a member of Congress was carjacked just outside his D.C. apartment.
They pointed guns at me. They said they wanted my car. I said, sure, you got to keep calm in those situations.
These brazen crimes are grabbing headlines in major cities across the country. So what's exactly going on here?
Charged in the carjacking and beating.
Showing this white Mercedes taken from an Uber Eats driver.
There are two suspects on the loose after a carjacking this morning.
Hey, how are you?
Last week, Democratic Representative Henry Cuellar of Texas became one of the latest victims in a wave of recent carjackings in the nation's capital. D.C. has seen these violent crimes more than double since 2020.
How are you feeling?
I'm certainly doing a lot better. You know, it's one of, like you talked about, shock. It's one of those things you just never expect. You know, they didn't even ask for my wallet. They didn't want money. All they wanted was the car. That's what they wanted, the car.
A CBS News analysis found that D.C. is one of many cities seeing a rise in carjackings. Last year, Chicago reported a staggering 1,650 carjackings. Baltimore, 714, and New York City jumped from just over 300 in 2020 to nearly 600 in 2022.
Anybody can be a victim at any time.
Bruce Jacobs is a professor of criminology at the University of Texas, Dallas.
Is there anywhere that's safe?
The data seems to suggest that most of these carjackings occur either in and around parking lots, residential streets, convenience stores, and or commercial parking lots. It's really anywhere the offender thinks they can corner you.
How often are people getting caught?
Somewhere between 65 and 75% of all carjackings are not cleared by arrest.
Wow.
But not all cities are seeing a rise. So far this year, Detroit carjackings have decreased by nearly half compared to 2022. And Minneapolis carjackings have plummeted for this year as well.
What's changed?
And one thing that's been tremendously effective has been the willingness of the U.S. Attorney in Minnesota to prosecute every single case that we can provide that is eligible for federal prosecution. So what that gives is it gives a much stiffer sentence than typically offenders may have.
In fact, Police Chief Brian O'Hara says most violent crimes in Minneapolis are down after the police department began working with the federal government to bring tougher punishments against violent criminals and street gangs.
It ensures that it sends a message to the community and to those who are doing these crimes that they will be taken very seriously and they will be prosecuted federally, and there will be a consequence for these actions.
Now, as alarming as this trend is, experts agree the best thing to do if the unthinkable happens to you is stay calm.
Especially if you're cornered and you have a gun in your face and they're demanding your vehicle, give them the keys. No resistance. Because we have seen in the data, carjacking fatalities are extraordinarily rare. Something like 0.2% of all the reported carjackings we've looked at result in a fatality. So it's very, very unusual.
As far as the theft of his vehicle goes, Representative Cuellar told CBS News, you can replace property, but you can never replace your life. CBS News reached out to Capitol Police. They have not yet made any arrests. Yet another car theft in America going unsolved. For all of us here at CBS News, I'm Ash-har Quraishi. Thanks for joining us.